You filmed the SIG right, check the footage, and it looks nothing compared to what it actually felt like and compared to what others post online. Here's why that happens and what I do differently. Alright, first thing, why even use an action cam? Look, I love my Sony on the gimbal filming out of a trunk. Makes everything super cinematic. But when you're on a bike and shit is about to get real, you need both hands on your bike and you can't be holding a camera. So this is what I use. The DJI Action 6 fits in my pocket, turns on in 0.3 seconds, still films in 10-bit color, which if you set it up right, actually looks like a movie. I've been using action cams since the DJI Action 4. One button to start, one button to stop. This didn't change, super simple. But if you just press record and leave it on auto and call it a day, it's not going to look as good as it's possible and to what you see online with your favorite creators like maybe myself, maybe Dan Jones, maybe Jasper Tan. So let me show you the secret sauce and what actually matters. Alright, two things make footage look like a movie: color and image quality. The Action 6 is, compared to the size, definitely very good at both. To me, it's the best action camera out there. It's got a new 1.1-inch sensor that's even better than before, meaning better image quality, better in low light, and it shoots with 13.5 stops of dynamic range. What does that mean in real life? Like if you're riding through a tunnel or filming at sunset, at sunrise, you don't lose a lot of detail and the image just looks very clean and you have a lot to work with. And here's another cool part. This is the first action camera with variable aperture, so it can open up and close the aperture automatically. It's not fixed, which helps in various light situations. The bottom line is this camera is definitely solid, but you need to know how to use it to maximize everything out of it. And here's where everyone fucks it up: the settings. Before we deep dive into the settings, and I don't want to do this in nerd talk, if you want your footage to feel like you actually felt, because this is episode 2 of Make It Look Like It Felt, where I explain how I shoot my stuff. If you want footage to look cinematic, especially while capturing sports or riding or cycling, you need motion blur, because that's what you saw with your own eyes. And this is literally the difference between this is a video and oh damn, this is wow, this is a movie. So there is this thing called 180 shutter degree rule, which basically means your shutter speed should be the double as the frame rate, because this is how our eyes see the world. Look, I've got my camera set up exactly like that, and this is how you would naturally see my hand wave as well. The same thing happens on the bike. So to dial in and get the maximum out of this camera and every other action cam, you need to set the exposure settings manually, which can be a hassle in the beginning, but I got you, because I filmed over 100 hours on this camera already. Usually I do these videos to launch date when DJI brings out a new camera, but this time I just wanted to be sure that I understood what they changed compared to the Action 5 Pro and my favorite settings to tune in perfectly and give you that. So I went out and shot the same street in different settings to explain you a little bit of differences and then give you my sweet spot of how I tune in my DJI Action 6. So you maybe saw the problem with action cams. Just due to the size, it is not an optical stabilization, it is a digital stabilization. It is done via software. The camera captures a bigger image and then analyzes that and crops into it to counterweight your movements. And to do that, the software needs sharp edges. But if we open up the shutter speed, get our motion blur, it can happen that there is this micro-jitter going on. So let's keep the nerd moment over and hop into the camera.
First of all, I set the color to D-Log M, which gives you the best color. I leave the auto white balance on because it's very good. And I mostly use a fixed variable aperture at 2.6 to have the most, depth of field. I do reduce the texture and the noise reduction to -2. And before we dive into the exposure, Let me show you what I use here. So I shoot in 4K with an aspect ratio of 4:3, even though there is a new 1:1 option. And then I use 60 frames per second while being on Rocksteady with the standard to make it look de-warped and not too much of a fisheye. And then I set the exposure to manual, and I mostly try to dial in at 100 ISO with the shutter speed at 1:200. So a bit above the 180 shutter degree rule. This means, of course, that for example on here you can see that this would be way too dark. So you have to dial in correlated to the circumstances. But this is how I film while being out on the bike.
Now, if you reduce that shutter speed and you shoot outside, especially here in Cape Town with a lot of sun, you need one of those, which is an ND filter. I use the regular ones from DJI. I like them the most. I just plug it over, and when the scene changes and it gets dark, or I can just pull them off and continue shooting. If you don't use these, it's like staring into the sun without a sunglass. The image will be just way too bright. But how do I actually shoot it when I'm out there riding? The answer is already on the camera. I use DJI's mouth mount, which is magnetic to the camera. So I mostly have it on here, and then I have it in my back pocket of the jersey. Pull it out, put it in the mouth. To me, this is just the best piece of gear to be very flexible. What I don't like shooting with it is POV, as the angle is mostly too much from above, so you just see the cockpit and the street. So I rather tune it a bit downwards and film others, or just talk to the camera vlogging like this. If I really want to shoot POV, which is mostly when I ride alone, as I don't want to wear a chest mount to a group ride because we're fucking cool. But when I want to shoot POV, I actually use DJI's chest mount, where I can just switch the camera magnetically on there, and then I tune in the POV as much as I like it. Other than that, I don't really use any accessories. But you can do that to get various angles while riding. For example, this is like a handlebar mount where you could add the camera and then have it stick so you can focus on riding and still film yourself. But I feel like for what I do, I just use the mouse mount and sometimes the chest mount to film amazing POV on rides. So the footage looks good, but what about sound? Just by purely riding the bike, the wind noise can be brutal. And even though I do like the internal microphones, there is a lot of wind noise when you ride the bike. That's why I like that you can easily connect DJI's microphone via Bluetooth. So let me show you the difference. All right, this is me filming while riding 25k an hour with the microphone. And now I turn the microphone off. This is me riding just with the camera in the hand on the internal microphone. Riding same speed with a little bit of wind from the front. So how do I do it? I put the DJI Mic 3 in that case on my bib below my jersey, so the wind noise is just very much reduced. And due to the microphone's better quality than the internal microphone, it just works way better when I'm vlogging. When I'm on a ride and I want to film others and also hear what they say sometimes, then I just use the internal microphone. We've got the settings, we've got clean footage and good audio. So how do we actually pop the colors? This is where it goes from, yeah, this is nice, to, wow, this actually looks maybe better even than I remembered it. But if you really want to make it look like a movie or get some filmic style to it, like that's how I try it, then I'm using DaVinci Resolve with the official conversion LUTs from DJI. I'm honest, I keep it very simple. If you don't want to deal with these tools, just use the DJI Mimo app.
Alright, let me show you the easiest way to color grade if you don't want to deal with color grading your footage on a laptop or you never used any software to do so. The easiest way is to use the DJI Mimo app. The most important tuning is getting the footage back from log footage to Rec 0709, which instantly make it look good. And then I'd put on various filters just to check what I like. I really like the master one. The exposure settings, reduce the highlights to have a more filmic look. What's missing is like putting on some grain to make it look less digital, but just with that you can easily tune your footage from log to a decent looking footage, which then looks like this. So if you just use the Action 6
to film something for your Instagram story or pure social media, this is a very good, quick and short way. But if you really want to maximize what you can get out of the footage, I'd recommend to hop onto the Mac into DaVinci. So what I do is do 3 nodes. First one would be my white balance. If I see that the color is off, I have to say I use, like I said, auto white balance, and mostly DJI nails it. The second node is going to be our conversion LUT, which I use from DJI officially. If you just Google DJI Action 6 LUT, you get to the website, you download it, and then I put it in the right folder to then use it here. And you will see that this already turns the image to a way more contrasty, saturated image. And what I do then to have that filmic movie style look is film look creator, which gives it a kind of twist, you know. And then instead of having different nodes for exposure, contrast, saturation, all those things, which can be super complicated in the end, having like 20 nodes, I felt it's easier to just do everything in here. So I would twist the exposure down a bit because it was a bit overexposed. And then I'd play around with some bloom, some grain maybe, but you can say that this is already very close. So I would still bring the exposure a bit down. So it was really a bit overexposed, not the perfect shot to work with, but this shows the dynamic range of DJI. I mean, you can twist it in so many directions without losing actually information or detail. You could use even more grain. This is now bringing it to really filmic look, but I feel like on action cam footage, too much grain could always look like bad quality. Let's do one more clip. I have a very special clip for you. As in this clip, I'm showing you actually how I use DJI's mouth mount. So what I would do, I mean, I know that there are shortcuts to save your LUTs. What I do is I do it once for the day, color grading, and then I just hit command, copy, and then I paste it to my other clip from that day. And then I'm just twisting it, like the exposure, bringing it up or down a little. So, and that's how quick this is color graded as well. And in this clip, you can even see how I shoot. Take the camera out, put it back in. So that's a very brief color grade interlude. Let me know if there are any deep dive questions. I don't think it can be any easier, but let me know your thoughts. Thanks for tuning in. For me, this is really a 10 out of 10 when it comes to content creation in these days. I always say, if you want to build a YouTube channel, it's possible to just do it with an action cam, as I use this for blogging sometimes, for daily vlogs on my Instagram or whatever, because it's just as capable and it's so easy to take along. Hope this helped. See you in the next one and take care.